In China, over 1 million restaurants closed in the past 10 months. Owners discuss struggle for survival. Allies abandon. Moody's pessimistic. She feels overwhelmed by China's economy. EU-China summit lacked deliverables. A scandal broke out. It's all covered in today's China Truths. In China, over 1 million restaurants closed in the past 10 months. Owners discuss struggle for survival. The Chinese economy is currently grappling with a significant downturn, a result of subdued consumer spending that has led to widespread closures within the restaurant industry. Over the initial 10 months of 2023, the closure of more than 1 million restaurants highlights the severity of the situation. In October of this year, a video surfaced on international social media featuring a Chinese restaurant owner who expressed the belief that China's economy is poised to revert to a state reminiscent of a decade ago, exactly like it was in 2006. Before the pandemic, business owners anticipated that the economy would be fueled by people's livelihoods, adhering to a market-driven economic approach. However, the current scenario reveals a complete shift to a wartime preparation-driven model, as if gearing up for a battle. Consequently, the urbanization process has come to a standstill, and there are even indications of regression. The southern regions will witness a gradual economic contraction, while heavy industry in the northern regions is expected to rise. Thus, there is a clear perception that current domestic demand is unsustainable. Expanding on his analysis, the restaurant owner noted the ongoing shift in the supply chain. With China losing external orders as the world's factory, relying solely on domestic demand resembles a restaurant serving only its employees, an inherently precarious situation. Consequently, he believes the entire economy will regress to its state 10 years ago, with the current spirit being pessimistic in stark contrast to the optimism of a decade ago, resulting in a significant decline. In response to the challenging economic climate, he advocates for the restaurant business to target the lowest consumer segment. Illustrating this, he pointed out that before the Chinese New Year, a box meal at a local construction site in Guangdong was priced between 12 to 15 yuan. By May, an 8 yuan box meal emerged, and now they are selling 5 yuan box meals, reverting to the consumption level of pre-2006. Additionally, in Beijing, a convenience store is already selling 4 yuan box meals, emerging as the best-selling item. He stressed the evident economic downturn, emphasizing the necessity to minimize costs. According to him, achieving this is crucial for survival, as in business, survival surpasses all other considerations. Allies abandon. Moody's pessimistic. She feels overwhelmed by China's economy. Recently, economic challenges have become Xi Jinping's biggest headache. Not only are key financial figures on Wall Street, traditionally seen as trusted allies of the CCP, reducing their investments in China, but the credit rating agency Moody's has also taken multiple actions, expressing pessimism about the Chinese economy. This has left the CCP genuinely dissatisfied and overwhelmed. In response to all these headache issues, on December 8, Xi Jinping presided over a Politburo meeting to analyze economic issues for the upcoming year, establishing the groundwork for the Central Economic Work Conference. The meeting stressed the need to reinforce countercyclical macro policies and cross-cycle regulation, to expand, opening up to the outside world, and consolidate the foundation of foreign trade and foreign investment. Furthermore, the meeting proposed positive fiscal policies and prudent monetary policies, highlighting the comprehensive leadership of the party, while also intensifying economic propaganda and guiding public opinion. Commenting on the meeting, Mr. Peng Ming, chief economist of JLL Greater China, firmly believes that without a doubt, the CCP's fiscal policy will play a leading role in 2024. It can be said that Xi Jinping is grappling with top challenges, among them being the European Union actively working to reduce its dependence on China in critical raw materials, including strategic minerals, as part of a de-risking strategy. On December 7, as reported by the Wall Street Journal, Xi Jinping held his first face-to-face summit with senior European officials in Beijing, aiming to alleviate tensions related to trade and economic disputes. Notably, Moody's released 4 consecutive shock bombs over 3 days, adjusting the outlook for China's sovereign credit rating from stable to negative. This caused ongoing declines in both the Chinese and Hong Kong stock markets. Yuan Yue, founder and investment director of Longtao Asset, anticipates that Moody's actions will result in reduced foreign investment in Chinese assets and could elevate China's financing costs, potentially leading to a decline in asset quality. An article from Nikkei on December 6 reported that Moody's series of actions have left the CCP highly dissatisfied. At present, the CCP government is making significant efforts to salvage the collapsing real estate market. According to a report by the official media outlet Securities Times on December 8, it was recently disclosed that since the Joint Financial Institutions Symposium held by the Central Bank of the CCP, the China Banking and Insurance Regulatory Commission, and the China Securities Regulatory Commission on November 17, major banks such as Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, ICBC, Agricultural Bank of China, ABC, Bank of China, BOC, China Construction Bank, CCB, and Bank of Communications, BOCOM, have injected over 30 billion yuan in real estate development loans into non-state-owned real estate enterprises. In the past 2 weeks alone, more than 14 billion yuan, approximately $1.96 billion, has been injected. Japanese media commented that this indicates the Xi administration is reaching the limit of its tolerance for the pain of economic decline. However, the new round of bank credit and top-down government intervention will only disrupt the market, and China's nightmare of defaults will intensify. BBC Chinese, citing the Economist Intelligence Unit (EIU), China's chief economist Su Yu, reported that currently, market confidence remains fragile, and any, even minor, shocks could potentially lead to a slowdown in demand. The low inflation environment not only stimulates people to postpone consumption but also hinders the growth of industrial profits, especially when commodity prices remain high, leading to high costs. An analysis article published by the Financial Times on December 7 stated that last year's collapse of China's real estate market was described as a slow-motion financial crisis, but now it seems that the speed at which this crisis is spreading is not so slow. According to calculations by Barclays Bank, at least 60 Chinese real estate developers have defaulted since early 2020, with unpaid dollar bonds exceeding $140 billion. Barclays Bank estimates that, as of the end of June, the debt of the entire real estate industry accounted for 87% of assets. With net assets on the balance sheet being so minimal, a further average decline of 20% in the book value of property and factory inventory is enough to lead to a complete collapse. However, the nightmare has not stopped there. The CCP's most trusted ally abandons. As previously reported, in mid-November this year, Xi Jinping personally traveled to the United States, specifically to San Francisco, for a dinner meeting with Wall Street financial leaders. While about 350 U.S. business leaders, including Blackstone Group CEO Stephen Schwarzman, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink, and Bridgewater founder Ray Dalio, stood and applauded Xi Jinping's speech at the main table, they had already made plans to withdraw funds from China. During the meal with Xi Jinping, Schwarzman, for example, is considering selling logistics parks in China worth over 10 billion yuan, approximately $1.4 billion. Furthermore, Wall Street financial institutions have significantly reduced their investments in China amid China's economic growth slowing down and the real estate market facing distress. At a closed-door meeting of the Council on Foreign Relations, these financiers expressed their concerns about the escalating economic slowdown in China. An unprecedented real estate crisis has caused panic among investors holding bonds worth billions of dollars in Chinese real estate companies. Additionally, Xi Jinping's emphasis on national security has not only restricted data access but has also triggered raids and investigations against foreign companies assessing investment risks in China. Official Chinese data reveals that by October of this year, institutional investors had reduced their investment in Chinese stocks and bonds by over $31 billion, marking the largest net outflow of funds since China joined the World Trade Organization, WTO, in 2001. Some hedge funds, including Bridgewater Associates, have significantly reduced their holdings of Chinese securities. Ray Dalio, Bridgewater's founder, who has had a positive view of the Chinese market for a long time, is among those making these adjustments. Several private equity investment firms, including Carlyle, have cut their fundraising targets for their Asian funds or completely halted raising funds for China-focused funds. Mutual fund management companies like Vanguard and Van Eck Associates have either exited the Chinese market or abandoned their business plans in China. The latest development is the exit of Wall Street, once a trusted ally of the Chinese government in the United States, further symbolizing the end of China's decades-long prosperity. Chairman Mike Gallagher of the House Committee on China Issues has consistently criticized the close relationship between Wall Street and the Chinese Communist Party. In a written statement to the Wall Street Journal, he said, "Too many American investors, including venture capitalists, endowment funds, and asset management companies, are financing Chinese companies that are involved in or acquiesce to human rights abuses and manufacture weapons for the Chinese Communist Party's military, and this behavior must stop." The reduction of Wall Street investment funds, combined with the mass departure of foreign manufacturers and other companies from China, adds to the economic challenges facing the country. In the third quarter of this year, assets such as factories and stores in China experienced a net outflow of foreign investment for the first time since the late 1990s. EU-China Summit lacked deliverables, a scandal broke out. Senior EU officials engaged in a face-to-face summit with CCP leader Xi Jinping in Beijing on December 7. This marked the first direct meeting between the two sides in 4 years, addressing a range of issues from trade imbalances to geopolitical concerns such as Ukraine and the Taiwan Strait. Despite the summit featuring strong rhetoric, it lacked tangible outcomes, and no joint statement was issued. In a post-meeting statement, the EU asserted its commitment to promoting values and safeguarding interests. The statement reiterated the EU's steadfast adherence to a One China policy and expressed apprehension about escalating tensions in the Taiwan Strait, emphasizing opposition to any unilateral efforts to alter the status quo through force or coercion. It stressed the need for peaceful resolution of disputes in line with international law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The EU also voiced concerns about the unbalanced economic relationship, citing a trade deficit exceeding €400 billion, about $431.7 billion, with China last year. Chinese state media CCTV reported that Xi Jinping urged Beijing and the EU to eliminate all kinds of interference during the meeting, possibly directed at actions taken by the United States, such as involving the Netherlands in hindering China's development of advanced semiconductor manufacturing capabilities. Reuters noted that an EU official in Brussels informed reporters earlier in the week that there was no single outstanding outcome expected to conclude the summit successfully, confirming that no joint statement would be issued. Low expectation for the results. Europe is working with the United States and other Western allies to de-risk China's supply chain, facing the influx of cheap Chinese electric cars. The EU recently launched an investigation. China again criticized the investigation at a separate news conference in Beijing on Thursday. The EU is concerned that Beijing's sluggish economic recovery, including weak domestic demand, will lead China to step up exports, threatening Europe's key industries and their workers. In the face of resolving a series of economic problems and dissatisfaction, Xi Jinping told EU leaders during the meeting that he was willing to regard the EU as an important partner in economic and trade cooperation and hoped that the two sides would become major trade partners that can build trust in the supply chain. Since the lifting of pandemic border restrictions this year, facing a weak economic recovery, Beijing has actively courted and interacted with the West, including providing visa-free entry policies to citizens of the 5 largest economies in the European Union to promote post-pandemic tourism. Several EU commissioners visited Beijing earlier this year, including the bloc's trade and climate chiefs, but little progress was made on resolving issues at the heart of the relationship. This will be the last chance for EU leaders to meet with top C leaders before European Parliament elections next year. During her one-day visit, Ms. von der Leyen, along with fellow European Council President Charles Michel and EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell, met with Chinese Premier Li Qiang. CCTV reported that Li Qiang told EU leaders that he opposed the extensive politicization and securitization of economic and trade issues and hoped that the EU would remain cautious when introducing restrictive economic and trade policies and using trade remedy measures. Both sides tried to play down expectations ahead of the summit. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi warned EU member diplomats in Beijing on Monday that Europe should choose peace and stability over a new Cold War. A big scandal broke out. During the summit, a big scandal broke out. According to an official from the EU who spoke to Politico, European Council President Charles Michel, an attendee of the summit, is scheduled to return to Europe a day earlier. One of the reasons mentioned is that Michel encountered a lack of secure communication lines in Beijing, making it impossible for him to engage in discussions with EU leaders without the risk of Chinese eavesdropping. In response to this, the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the CCP Wang Wenbin once again shifted the blame when responding to media questions, claiming that China is not the one who eavesdrops on the leaders of EU countries and EU institutions. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. If you find the information helpful, please share this video with a friend to watch together. This will be a great source of motivation for our team to produce more and more quality and reliable videos. And also don't forget to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths. Thank you for tuning in.